Hi everyone, I am back with a new video where I will break down how I draw hands. And please note that this is a beginner-friendly tutorial, so I'm going to keep this as simple as I possibly can. So if there are other hand gestures or poses that you want a specific tutorial on, then let me know in the comments below. That might just be the next one that I make. So let's start with the basic shapes and lines that I like to use when drawing hands. The first shape is a trapezium, where the top is wider than the bottom, and this represents the palm of the hand. So the width of this trapezium determines whether you're drawing wide hands, commonly used for male hands, or slender hands, commonly used for female hands. Then we're going to draw a curved line on top of the trapezium that extends down on both sides. So you can actually change the steepness of this curve to draw the fingers either together or apart. And then draw 3 more of those curves equally spaced above. So these lines will help us draw the fingers. And a good thing to note is that the height of the tallest finger is roughly the same height of the trapezium that we just drew. And also, when drawing these lines, also note that on one side, the lines will meet at a point, whereas on the other side, the lines remain parallel to each other. So the side where the lines meet at a point actually determines where the pinky will be located. Next, find the bottom center of the trapezium and draw 5 vertical lines that fan out all the way to the very top curve. However, only 4 lines actually reach the top curve. The line for the thumb only reaches the second curve. So these lines represent the fingers and the thumb. And the last basic shape that we will use is a circle. So draw large circles where the vertical lines intersect with the trapezium. These represent the knuckles. And then draw small circles where the vertical lines intersect with the curved lines. These represent the joints and tips of the fingers and thumb. Now that we have the shapes and guidelines, we can actually start to add the outline, which is basically like connecting the dots, and eventually we end up with something that resembles a hand. For details, you can add ovals for the nails as well as lines to represent the joints. You can darken the outlines, you can add shading, but I won't go into too much detail with the shading for this tutorial because this mainly focuses on proportion as well as a general concept of how the hand moves. So do take note of the shapes and guidelines that I've just mentioned, since we will be using these to create a range of different hand poses. This video is also sponsored by Skillshare, and I have linked in the description box some classes on how to draw hands. I definitely believe that you should learn from multiple resources, not just one, so I highly recommend that you guys check out Skillshare as well as their classes. For example, there is Beginner Figure Drawing, How to Draw Hands by JW Learning, which is a really great video because it dives into so much detail on how to draw different parts of the hand, lots of different poses, as well as applying perspective. So it goes from beginner to advanced level. So I highly recommend that you guys check it out as well as the other resources in the description box. Now, this class is just one of the many classes that they offer on Skillshare. So if you join and get a premium membership, you actually get unlimited access to all of their classes, which are all taught by professionals, so you know that it's really valuable knowledge. And it is normally valued at less than $10 a month if you pay annually. However, because this video is sponsored, I have a special link in the description box that will give the first 1,000 people to join using that link 2 months free of their premium membership, which is a really great deal. So I highly recommend that you guys check them out, as well as the links in the description box for the resources or some of their classes. So that special link is in the description box below, so definitely go check them out, go join if you haven't already. Now for the demonstration. From the shapes and guidelines that we have, I am going to draw a diagonal dotted line that extends from the top right corner of the trapezium and goes down to the bottom left corner. This represents how the hand folds. So if you let your pinky and your thumb touch, your palm folds in this direction. And the hand only really moves in a limited amount of ways, this being the most dominant movement. You can even see it when you close your fists, so that is why I added this guideline here. So here I have a cutout of the trapezium shape with the diagonal dotted line, so I can play around with it. I can rotate it, fold it in one direction, and basically this will help me draw the hand in different poses as well as different angles. Having this cutout in front of you also helps visualize the hand in its most basic shape. So I do recommend having this right in front of you and making sure that you also refer to either your other hand or a reference image so that you can better understand this concept. Now let's take this shape that we've created from our cutout and copy it onto the paper. From here, we can add the 4 curves on top of the folded cutout, making sure that they extend out and making sure that the lines meet at one point on one side and they remain parallel on the other side. Then we can draw the 5 vertical lines to indicate the fingers, making sure that the 4 lines reach the topmost curve, whereas the thumb only reaches the second curve. And then we can draw the circles for the knuckles and the joints, and basically we have the guidelines to create this hand pose. And we can start adding in the outlines and the details. Now let's take another shape from the cutout and draw bent fingers. So we're going to start by repeating the same steps. Copy the cutout onto the paper as best as you can. Add the curved guidelines as well as the vertical guidelines and then stop. So when a finger bends, it no longer follows the curved guideline. It now has its own guideline, which is very similar because the finger bends in a semi-circular way, as you can see, very similar to the curved guideline that we've established in the beginning. I would recommend that you start off by drawing the vertical line as straight so you get an indication of the length of the finger. After you've determined how you want this finger to bend, and you now know where it can bend, then basically all you have to do is apply this for each finger that's bent and adjust the vertical lines accordingly. So then you can also add the circles for the knuckles and the joints according to where they are now located, and then you have your basic guidelines and you can start adding in the outline as well as the details. So these are some of the basic guidelines that I hope can help you draw different hand poses, at least some relatively simple hand poses. You can actually use these guidelines for other more complicated hand poses, especially ones where you apply perspective to hands. However, that can be a little bit complicated because the guidelines will also have to follow perspective. So I am going to leave that for another video, but if you want to see a more advanced video which goes into detail of what I just mentioned, let me know in the comments below. A few tips to getting started. Number 1, definitely use reference images. I've mentioned that throughout this entire video. Observe your hands, observe other people's hands, observe images of hands. These will definitely help you get a better understanding of how to draw hands, which I know can be very scary, especially if you're just getting started. However, the only way to really improve and to finally say that you don't hate drawing hands is to get started. So I do have some links in the description box of references and resources that I found really helpful to get me started. So hopefully they will help you out as well. Number 2 is to practice. Of course, practice drawing lots and lots and lots of hands. And one method is you can actually start by drawing the same hand multiple times until you get sick of it, until you feel like you've gotten the hang of it, and then you can move on to different or more complicated poses. Another method is to be brave and tackle different hand poses all at once. Apply perspective, draw from reference, just practice. You don't even have to use guidelines, just draw what you see. And of course, lastly, learn at your own pace, and the most important thing is to have fun. Now, I hope that you found this video helpful. If you did, please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and share this video so more people can see, and also subscribe for more videos and push that notification button to know when I post here on YouTube. That is it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you